Who is that? The train car is empty except for the man in the immaculately tailored Italian suit. Oh, that's the dragon. You notice him watching you for several minutes while the train rumbles its way towards Brandenburger Tor. Finally he speaks. The stranger's words come out slowly in a deep, melodious tone that is easy to hear despite the noise of the train. He takes his time, accentuating each word, relishing each vowel and each consonant, tasting them as if they were a delicacy. Yeah, that's Lofwyr. That's definitely Lofwyr. Yeah, Tim. Hello. I assume that the business with Dr. Vauclair is concluded, yes? Yeah, no, look, yellow eyes? Yellow eyes. He's the dragon. This is Lofwyr. Do I know you, friend? No, but you're about to. Who funded Vauclair? Did you fund Vauclair, Lofwyr? Lofwyr, where did his money come from? You gave him the money, right? The man inclines his head slightly in introduction. Hans Brackhaus. I represent an interested party, someone who wishes to know about your encounter with Dr. Vauclair. Does this interested party understand that information is a commodity? Okay, this is asking for money. And how do you know about that? Breckenhouse continues, my employer also wishes to hear about the Lady Fürschwinger, a fascinating creature so unlike her brothers and sisters. Yeah, she was a little upset. She burned a few people. She's better now. She's feeling better now. She's gonna feel better. Lofwyr. It is a relief that she is now free. Dragons are not meant for captivity. The Lady Fürschwinger, least of all. She was special in this world. I am sure you would agree. Dragons are no different from anyone else. There are those who take and those who get taken. A dragon's just another taker. I don't know, dragons are dangerous. Everyone's dangerous. I'm dangerous. Maybe, but let's face it, dragons are scary. No. Dragons are no different from anyone else. There are those who take and those who get taken. A dragon is just another taker. No, these are all wrong. The dragons, they're not just taking for the sake of taking. They do have a purpose. He purses his lips, considers. Just another taker. Interesting. Dragons take, this is undeniable. But they cannot be considered just another taker, as you put it. Oh? Well, enlighten me, Mr. Brackhaus. They are the ultimate takers. It is their reason for existence. The great dragons are very old, and very powerful, and very, very cunning. A cunning unknowable to you. You look at a moth and barely perceive sentience. You glance its way, amused, as it flutters towards a bright light in a vain attempt to... what? To enter? To draw strength? To burn? It doesn't know. Its epic struggle is barely 1/100th of your lifespan. The sum total of its existence is nothing against the vast scale of your struggles, your hopes, your dreams, which it could not fathom in 1,000 years. Poor moth. Yeah, so what are you struggling against? Here, Brackhaus. He leans forward. You will live and die between the beats of a dragon's heart, my friend. What hope do you have of understanding them? No kidding. Insane dragons are even harder to understand, but I was able to get through to her, for a moment at least. She wasn't insane. She wasn't insane, though. Brackhaus studies your face closely. Were you? Were you indeed? I'm pleased to hear it. And what did you learn? That Fürschwinger had a reason for her attack. That dragons aren't all alike. Yeah, no, dragons aren't warlike. The Firewing is not like Lofwyr. Lofwyr hordes. We know that. The Firewing is not about hoarding. The Firewing is protecting the green. That Fürschwinger had a reason for her attack. That is true. No ancient dragon acts without reason. My Lady Fürschwinger was a nurturer, a caregiver, rare among her kind. Where her brothers and sisters saw the world as a prize to be won, she saw it as a garden to be tended. Can you imagine? Well, she's smarter than you, clearly, because the world is a garden to be tended. Because look, I don't know if you have ever given much thought about ruling the world, but let's say you take the world, as Lofwyr says. Let's say the world is a prize and you've taken it, and then what? What happens after you have the world? You have to tend it. Because what if you don't? It's yours, and then if you don't take good care of it, it's gonna decay, right? It's gonna rot and fall apart, right? So when you take something, either you spend your time and effort taking good care of it, or it decays and then it becomes useless to you. And then why did you take it in the first place? Just to ignore it. Like, why would you take something just to waste it? You see what I mean? If you're gonna just take that, just do nothing with it, then you might as well not take it in the first place. So that's what it means to conquer the world. I don't know if you've ever thought about this. Do you know what it means to conquer the world? Like, it's not just about having it. It's that after you've taken control of it, it then becomes your responsibility to take care of it. Otherwise, it's just useless to you and you shouldn't have done it in the first place. On the flip side, you don't need to take control of the world in order to take good care of the world. In fact, you don't need to control anything to do everything that you ever want. You'll be surprised how much you can do without owning anything. Like, ownership is a fiction. Ownership is a legal fiction that humans have invented to decide who takes care of what. But ultimately, it is a legal fiction. You can accomplish a lot without owning anything. You don't need to own things, you just need to be able to use the things when you want to. So, like, winning the world as a prize actually is meaningless and pointless. If you can use the world whenever you like, however you like, then you don't need to own it. You just need to use it. You understand what I mean? Like, you know, like people, like if you live in New York or if you live in a big city, a lot of people living in big cities, they don't own a car, right? Why do they own a car? Because they live in a city where the transport is convenient enough that if they just need transport, they have transport. So they don't own any transport. Just use the transport because it's available to them. You see what I mean? Like, you don't need to own it if you can get the service from it without having to own it. You see what I mean? So what I'm saying is Fürschwinger is right and Lofwyr is wrong. Lofwyr is wasting his time. I mean, he's not really, but he's kind of wasting his time. Anyway, for world upon world, the great dragon Fürschwinger brought wisdom and succor to countless souls, and she was loved for it, exalted, a goddess. When she awoke from her long slumber in 2012 and saw what the world had become, what meta-humanity had done to the garden she had tended for great ages, she struck. Struck with the rage, regret, frustration, and anguish of a mother whose children had played with fire and burned the house down, killing themselves in the blaze. She unleashed fire and death through her tears. I mean, that didn't help though, did it? It only made it worse. Yes, we screwed it up, but then she just screwed it up more, so that wasn't right. I understand, but she was wrong. And now she is free again, and insane. The perfect addition to the sixth world. I don't think she's insane. I don't think she's insane. You seem to know a lot about dragons, Hans. I think your employer wants you telling me all this? Had to cut to the chase, friend. Who are you and what do you want from me? You seem to know a lot about dragons, Hans. I think your employer wants you to telling me all this? I'm sure of it. You may consider this conversation an employment interview for a very influential client, one who pays extraordinarily well. Now listen. Oh, Lofwyr wants to hire me. What does he want me to do? The man removes his hands from his knees, folds them in his lap. I tell you all of this so that you have context, perspective, before I ask you this next question, Shadowrunner. If Dr. Vauclair's weapon had not required Dragonfire, if it had been capable of destroying every dragon on Earth without touching a hair on metahumanity's head, would you have used it? No. I think so. The world's complicated enough. One less group of players simplifies it a bit. No. Definitely, dragons are too powerful, too unknowable, too dangerous to let live. No. Yep, this world doesn't belong to dragons, it's ours. No. No, wiping out an entire species is wrong. I don't think so. Who knows what would fill the power vacuum left behind? No, wiping out an entire species is wrong. Monochromatic thinking. But I appreciate a career criminal's attempt at morality. Of course you feel that wiping out a species is wrong. The feeling is a subtle but ingrained defensive mechanism that should be cherished. One day it may be metahumanity poised for extermination. And let's say the day comes that we would be exterminated. Would Lofwyr defend us and save us from extermination? Well, onto the... Man, I want to ask him these questions. Well, onto the business at hand. My employer wishes to secure your team's services for a series of operations that will likely require the remainder of 2054. Sounds interesting. Who's the boss? The boss is the great dragon Lofwyr. He is sometimes referred to as the Golden Worm. Perhaps you have heard of him. What makes you think I'm going to make a deal with a dragon? His eyes glint, because you have already been working for him for some time now, Mynheer. Or did you think Green Winters found the Half-Elf Manor on his own? I mean, okay. What if... You say that, Lofwyr, but what if you sent me in there and I helped Vauclair finish the virus and then he killed you? You didn't tell me? Like, you didn't tell me? You just let me go in there and you let me decide for myself whether to exterminate all dragons? Are you crazy? This fucking guy. Well, that puts a new spin on things, doesn't it? What if I chose to exterminate all dragons? The rattle of wheels on track gives way to a shimmying screech. Gradually the train begins to slow. He glances up at the U-Bahn map on the wall and smiles. Ah, this is my stop. Coming? Well, what do you know? Looks like this is my stop too. Maybe in the 7th world, Hans, but not today. No way, I've no dragon's pawn. When you see your boss, I'll tell him that. You tell him that. I'd rather floss my teeth with a monomolecular wire. I got nowhere else I need to be. I really don't see the dragons as enemies. I really don't. Well, what do you know? Looks like this is my stop too. The train comes to a halt and the doors open. Brackhouse stands, brushes off his Italian suit, and exits without another word. As you turn to follow, your eyes catches an advertisement for work talk above the subway car door. Brackhouse glances back at you from the platform, the light from the car reflecting yellow in his gaze. You step out of the subway car and follow him to the stairs and into the Berlin light, into the shadows. Alright, that's the end of it. Berlin Newsfax contains just one report of a shootout in an abandoned holdfast in the countryside east of Berlin. The identity of the combatants remain unknown, though several rival political factions are suspected, and the location is soon cordoned off by unidentified corporate forces. This news is eclipsed when Seda Krupp announces its acquisition of Arianespace, the last remaining arm of the European space program. The Flux State's anarchist rule remains until 2055, when joint corporate forces, acting with the support of the German government, invade the city. It is widely known that the Great Dragon Lofwyr is responsible for orchestrating this action. After weeks of fighting, the surviving anarchists are forced to retreat to the eastern part of the city. A truce is signed in 2060 and Berlin is again divided by a war. The Great Dragon Dankozan is elected President of the United Canadian and American States in 2057. He is promptly assassinated as he leaves an inaugural party at the Watergate Hotel while in human form. Popular opinion that another Great Dragon is responsible, as only a dragon can kill a dragon, but those in the shadow hint that an act of powerful blood magic is the cause. Grainy photographs of a large winged creature crossing a full moon above the Harz Mountains circulate in Germany for several years. Conspiracy theorists take this as evidence that a new Great Dragon has emerged, but when no further sightings are reported, interest wanes. The name of Dr. Adrian Vauclair has since been lost to the shadows. Really? Somebody killed Dankozan? Is he actually killed? Do dragons actually die? Or do they just become incapacitated for a while? I mean, none of this has any clear relation to my actions, so I don't know why that matters. Alright, so that's the game. It's quite good. It's quite good. I mean, I have a few objections with a few little parts of the story, but as a whole, what a great game. The gameplay is solid. I mean, as solid as a turn-based RPG can be. Right? The stories are great. So the game is like, okay, you have this thread of, you know, Vauclair and Fuswinger. And then along the way you have to do a bunch of kind of like side missions to collect enough money to pay Alice before continuing to the final mission. I was thinking before that I kind of wish like some of the things that happened in the side missions would tie into the main story. Wouldn't that be interesting? But none of that happened. Like all the stories are very separate, and I guess that's easier to manage, easier to write that story than to have like all these threads that then come back and tie together. But it would be cool if like the side missions turn out to be connected as well, right? The ending, like some of the choices at the ending seem a little forced. I don't think Apex should be that unhappy. I didn't blow up the facility, right? So the virus still exists. I've said that several times already. Yeah. Anyway, it's quite good. So after the first game, not Dragonfall. After Shadowrun Returns, I said that it was good, but I wish there was more. And Dragonfall, there is more. So in that sense, I'm quite pleased, right? Oh, these credits are way too fast. You can't see any of this. You can't actually read any of it. Um, yeah, the gameplay is well balanced. The stories are well written. I mean, especially the story, like Glory's story is top notch. Aiga's story is a little less so. But I mean, it's good, but it doesn't sit well with me. Maybe it sits well with other people. Maybe if I was a different person. But like there were things that I want to say to Aiga that the game doesn't allow me to say. And like Aiga just has like anger issues and like yeah, no, like there's a lot of things I want to say about that. The story with Blitz didn't work for me. I think what's supposed to happen is Blitz tries to look for his ex-girlfriend. I think what's supposed to happen is he's supposed to keep chasing her, and then he's gonna get her in trouble, and then she's gonna hate him for the rest of his life. It's what's supposed to happen. It's supposed to teach Blitz, and you know, indirectly, it's supposed to teach the player that if a girl says no, she means no, and you should respect that. That's the point of the story. Is like the girl tells Blitz no, Blitz then ignores her and keeps pushing, and then he gets her into trouble, and then he regrets it. So that's the story. But you know, I understood that already, and so we looked for her. And then we kind of found her to the extent that Emily sent me a message, or sent him a message telling him to back off. And then I told Blitz, alright, she says back off, you should back off. And we convinced Blitz to back off. And so then nothing else happened after that. So the fact that if you do the right thing, nothing happens, that's a missed opportunity, right? I think they should have had the story be that if you push the issue, then you screw up. And then bad ending. But if you do the right thing, if you back off, I think at the end what they should do is have Emily come back and say, hey, thanks for letting me do this on my own. Like, you were the wrong person for the job, Blitz. I'm glad you understood that, and everything's worked out now, and now I'm back. Like, have a happy ending for Blitz and Emily and have them get back together, that'd be cool. So they didn't do that, which I thought it's not as good. The thing with Dietrich, Dietrich's story happened quite early. We saved his nephew, and then there was no follow-up, right? We saved his nephew. His nephew, like Samuel, took Alexander in, and then nothing happened for the rest of the game. So that's another missed opportunity. I think what should have happened was like maybe when Audran attacked the Crowd's Bazaar, maybe Alexander comes and helps out and saves some of the locals. That'd be cool. Like if that happened, that'd be cool, but that didn't happen. So that was another missed opportunity. So I think like Blitz's story and Dietrich's story had a bit of a missed opportunity. But you know, I'm really like, I don't want to sound like I'm criticizing too much, because I'm saying this is like 95 instead of 100 out of 100. It's like, that's what I'm complaining about. So I'm not really, like, I'm not saying it's a bad game at all. It is a great game. It's a great game, and the stories are very well written. And the thing is, with any like RPG, with any story, it's impossible to write a perfect story for everyone, right? So, you know, this sort of stuff, don't think of this as me saying anything negative about this game. It's just me, let's say that I wish there was more, right? It was a great game, great experience, and I want more of it. And there is more. There's a third game, Shadowrun Hong Kong. I'm gonna go through that as well. So yeah. It's not me saying the game is bad, it's me saying the game is so good, I wish there was more of it, right? Yeah, the thing with Simi and the doctor, like a lot of things, like you wish it was more fully fleshed out. Or I wish it was more fully fleshed out. I'm not saying what they did was bad. I'm saying I wish it was more fully fleshed out. Is what I'm saying. So yeah, not a criticism at all, except to say that I want more, right? Cool. So I think I've said everything I want to say. Yeah, let's get out of here. Like, I want to spend more time talking to Algernon, and I want to spend more time talking to Lofwyr. I even want to spend more time talking to the Firewing, to be honest. But that sort of stuff, I don't. It's very hard to do that sort of stuff because those are very those are big characters in the Shadowrun story, right? If you talk to them too much, you write the story into a corner, right? Because the whole reason that we have space to tell all these stories is because the big players never do anything definite, right? So it's one of these things where, yes, as the audience, you wanna know more about this stuff, but as the story writer, as the storyteller, you can't tell these stories. You can tell stories about individual Shadowrunners because they don't really matter, they don't change the big setting. So you can have a lot of small stories that take place inside the setting without changing the setting. But if Algernon says too much, if Lofwyr says too much, then the whole setting changes, and then you disrupt all these little stories. So you can't do that with this sort of thing. Like, the Shadowrun is a setting, and if you like change the setting, then you mess up a lot of stories. So it's one of these things where you only ever talk about like small stories that don't really matter, because if they matter, then you can't tell that story because you've messed up it anyway. Alright, I'm out. See you in the next game, which will be Shadowrun Hong Kong. Man, the stories are really well written.